Are you struggling with form validation in your web applications? It can be really frustrating when your forms don't behave as expected. Today, we're going to tackle the issue of using preventDefault and how it affects form validation. I completely understand your concern. Many developers face this challenge when trying to manage form submissions while still allowing the browser to validate required fields. You're definitely not alone in this. Let's dive into the specific question at hand. One user asked, is there a way to let the browser check validation of required inputs but still stop the submit action? This is a common scenario, especially when using libraries like Backbone and jQuery. So what happens when you use preventDefault? It stops the form from submitting, but it also prevents the browser from performing its built-in validation. This can lead to confusion if you're expecting the validation to occur. Stay with me because at the end of this video, I will share a solution that allows you to achieve both form validation and control over the submission process. To allow the browser to check the validation of required inputs while preventing the form from submitting, the user can modify the event handler. First, they should check if the form is valid before calling preventDefault. Next, the user can utilize the checkValidity method on the form element. This method returns true if the form is valid, allowing the user to handle the submission logic accordingly. Additionally, the user can provide feedback to the user if the form is invalid. This can be done by displaying a message or highlighting the invalid fields. Finally, the user should ensure that the form data is only processed when the form is valid. This means moving the data collection logic inside the validity check. Here's a quick code snippet to illustrate this. In your comment form submit function, check if the form is valid before calling preventDefault. Fun fact, did you know that the first web forms were just plain text fields? We've come a long way in making user interactions smoother and more intuitive. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. This user offers an alternative approach by checking the form's validity before calling preventDefault. They suggest using the checkValidity method to ensure all required fields are filled out. If the form is valid, preventDefault is called to stop the submission and the comment data is collected. If the form is invalid, reportValidity is triggered to show the user what needs to be corrected. That's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. An alternative approach shared by another user emphasizes utilizing HTML5 form validation attributes. These attributes, such as required, min, max, and pattern, automatically prevent form submission if the data is invalid. This means you don't need to use preventDefault to stop the form from submitting. Here's a pro tip. Always validate your forms both on the client side and server side. This ensures a better user experience and keeps your data secure. And there you have it. You can now manage form validation effectively while controlling the submission process. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks on web development.